Welcome back to Family Secrets Unveiled, where we dive into the dark corners of domestic tranquility to uncover the hidden truths lurking beneath. We often think of our homes as sanctuaries, places of safety and love, but sometimes they are the very stages where our greatest tragedies unfold. Today's story is one of a love so deep, it seemed unbreakable, and a betrayal so cruel, it was almost poetic. It's a story about a woman, a man, a seemingly perfect life, and a single, haunting detail that shattered it all. Her name was Eleanor Vance. She was 32, a talented graphic designer with a laugh that could fill a room and a spirit as vibrant as the colors she used in her work. Her life with her husband, Michael, was, by all outward appearances, a fairy tale. They lived in a beautiful, sun-drenched house in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where neighbors baked cookies for each other and children played on manicured lawns. Michael, a successful architect, was her rock, her confidant, her everything. Their love story was the kind people wrote novels about. They met in college, fell in love over late-night study sessions and shared dreams, and built a life together with a quiet, undeniable passion. But their world, perfect as it seemed, had a single, fragile point: Eleanor's severe allergy to perfume. It wasn't a mere irritation, it was a life-threatening condition. A single spritz could trigger a cascade of symptoms: a tightening in her chest, a struggle for breath, a sense of suffocating panic. Michael knew this. It was one of the first things she told him about her health. He was meticulously careful, a man who saw her vulnerability not as a weakness, but as a trust to be guarded. He'd stopped using cologne years ago, and their home was a scent-free zone, a pact they shared to keep her safe. It was a testament to his devotion, a small, daily act of love that spoke volumes. The incident began subtly, almost innocently. One Tuesday evening, Eleanor returned home from a long, draining day at work. She was exhausted, her head throbbing with the kind of fatigue that only a deadline could bring. All she wanted was to fall into bed and sleep. She walked into their bedroom, the dim light from the hallway casting long shadows, and saw her pillow, the one with the soft, faded floral pattern she loved, had been fluffed up, ready for her. A small gesture, a simple act of thoughtfulness from a loving husband. But as she leaned down, a foreign scent, sharp and cloying, assaulted her senses. It was perfume. A rich, heavy, floral fragrance that hit her like a physical blow. Her mind reeled. Panic began to claw its way up her throat. Michael would never do this. He knew. He of all people understood the danger. Could he have forgotten? The thought was absurd. This wasn't a minor detail, it was a fundamental part of their life. Her breath hitched. The tightness in her chest started, a cold, constricting vice. Her body was already reacting, her airways closing off. She stumbled back, hands flying to her mouth, the scent clinging to her, a phantom of dread. She looked around the room, her eyes starting from the nightstand to the closet, searching for a rational explanation. There was none. She could feel the world spinning, the familiar safety of her bedroom turning into a suffocating trap. The scent was a question, an accusation. Who could have done this? And why? Michael wasn't home yet. He had a late meeting. Her mind raced, a terrifying montage of possibilities. Was this a mistake? A prank gone wrong? Or was it something far more sinister? The air was thick with the scent of something beautiful and deadly, a stark contrast to the terror blooming in her chest. She grabbed her phone, her fingers fumbling, the world blurring as her vision began to narrow. Her entire being screamed at her to get out, to find air, to escape the poison that had been so deliberately placed in her sanctuary. But the true poison wasn't in the air, it was in the unsettling, insidious feeling that this wasn't an accident at all. The pillow was a message. And as her knees buckled and she slid to the floor, gasping for breath, one terrifying question burned in her mind. What kind of message could this possibly be, and who was sending it? Eleanor's world was now a blur of sirens and the frantic, echoing voices of paramedics. She was rushed to the hospital, her husband, Michael, arriving just as they stabilized her. His face was a mask of sheer terror, a mix of panic and utter bewilderment. He held her hand, his touch cool and comforting, his voice a low, soothing murmur as he apologized for not being there, for letting this happen. To anyone looking in, he was the picture of a devoted, loving husband. But to Eleanor, lying in the sterile hospital bed, her chest still burning, the questions lingered, sharp and relentless. Michael insisted it was a fluke, a terrible, unbelievable accident. He reasoned that perhaps a delivery driver had used a strong perfume, or maybe a neighbor had walked by their open window. He clutched at straws, offering up one flimsy explanation after another, his frantic energy betraying his calm facade. But Eleanor knew better. Their home was meticulously sealed off from such things. And that particular pillow, her favorite one, was in the center of the bed, not near an open window. It was a deliberate act. The more he talked, the more the pieces didn't fit, and a cold suspicion began to worm its way into her heart. The day she was released from the hospital, she came home to a house scrubbed clean, the scent of perfume replaced by the sharp tang of cleaning solution. Michael had gone to great lengths to erase the evidence, a gesture that should have been comforting, but instead felt like a cover-up. He held her close, promising to protect her, but his embrace felt hollow. The man who had once been her sanctuary now felt like a stranger, a puzzle she couldn't solve. Eleanor began to notice small, unsettling details. A text message notification on Michael's phone that disappeared the moment she glanced at it. A fleeting, panicked look in his eyes when she mentioned the pillow. The way he would leave the room to take a phone call, his voice a low, hushed whisper. Her graphic designer's eye, trained to spot the smallest inconsistencies, now found them everywhere. The perfect picture of their life began to crack, revealing a dark, fragmented mosaic underneath. One evening, unable to shake the gnawing suspicion, she did something she never thought she would. She began to snoop. She waited for Michael to go to sleep, his breathing a steady rhythm beside her, and then she crept out of bed. Her hands trembled as she picked up his phone, the glowing screen a beacon of potential truth. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a drumbeat of fear and anticipation. What she found wasn't a smoking gun, not at first. Just a series of deleted messages, their recipients unknown, and a browser history scrubbed clean. But one small detail caught her eye. An address for a local pharmacy, searched just hours before her allergic reaction. It was the kind of detail that seemed insignificant on its own, but combined with everything else, it felt like a cold, hard piece of the puzzle. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that every move she made was under scrutiny. The house that was once her haven now felt like a cage. She started to leave small, unnoticeable markers, like a book slightly ajar or a coaster moved a millimeter to the left, and she would find them back in their original places hours later. Michael was a tidy man, but this was a meticulousness that bordered on surveillance. Her paranoia was a living, breathing thing, growing in the shadows of their home. The suspicion of a simple affair began to morph into something far more sinister. Why would a lover spray her pillow with a deadly substance? It wasn't a simple act of infidelity, it was an act of deliberate, calculated malice. The pharmacy address from his phone kept replaying in her mind. Could he have bought the perfume? But why would he put her life in danger? The man she loved, the man who was supposed to protect her, was now the primary suspect in a terrifying, silent crime. The air in their home grew heavy with unspoken accusations and a chilling, dangerous tension. Eleanor was trapped in a web of her own husband's making, a victim not of a sudden tragedy, but of a slow, creeping poison. And as she lay awake at night, the silence of the house was punctuated by the chilling whisper of a question she was terrified to answer. What other secrets was he keeping, and how deep did the betrayal truly go? The search for answers consumed Eleanor, pushing her to the brink of a complete breakdown. She felt like a detective in her own life, sifting through the wreckage of her marriage for clues. The deleted messages, the pharmacy address, the subtle rearranging of objects, they all pointed to Michael, but she couldn't grasp the motive. The man who had once been her everything now felt like a stranger, a two-dimensional villain in a movie she never wanted to star in. One afternoon, while Michael was out, she decided to dig deeper. She went to his office, a place she rarely entered, a sanctum of his professional life. Her hands trembled as she opened his desk drawers, searching for anything, a note, a receipt, anything that could give her a lead. She found nothing. Just stacks of blueprints, architectural models, and neatly organized files. The meticulousness was maddening, a wall of normalcy protecting a terrible truth. Just as she was about to give up, her eyes fell on a small, loose floorboard beneath his desk chair. It was slightly ajar, a tiny imperfection in an otherwise perfect room. With a rush of adrenaline, she knelt down and pried it open. Inside, tucked away, was a small, locked metal box. She fumbled with it, her heart pounding, her mind racing. What could possibly be in here? She looked around for a key, but found none. In a moment of sheer desperation, she picked up a heavy paperweight and smashed the lock. It was a crude, violent act, but the sound was a welcome relief, a physical manifestation of the anger and terror bubbling inside her. Inside the box were two things, a small, unassuming vial of perfume and a photograph. The vial was a half-empty bottle of the same rich, floral scent that had almost killed her. The photograph, however, was the true bombshell. It was a picture of Michael, but not a recent one. He looked younger, perhaps in his early 20s, standing with a beautiful, dark-haired woman. The woman's face was serene, a quiet smile playing on her lips. And on the back, in elegant cursive, were two words, Cora. The name, the face, the perfume, it was all a blur, a puzzle with a single, horrifying centerpiece. Eleanor's mind was a maelstrom of confusion and dread. Who is this woman? And what did Cora mean? She flipped the photograph over again, her fingers tracing the elegant script. It was then she noticed a faint inscription on the corner of the picture, almost invisible to the naked eye. It was an address. An old address, the kind you would see on a faded postcard. She typed it into her phone, her hands shaking, and the search results confirmed her worst fears. It was a local cemetery. The pieces began to click into place, a terrible, morbid mosaic. The perfume, the address, Michael's frantic behavior. This wasn't about a lover. It was about something far more tragic and deeply personal. She drove to the cemetery, a place of peace and quiet, now a location of terrifying discovery. She found the grave easily, a simple marble headstone beneath a sprawling willow tree. The inscription read, Cora Vance. Beloved daughter. 1993 to 2015, a chill ran down Eleanor's spine. The dates were impossible. Cora would have been 22 years old. But the last name was the same. Vance. Michael's last name. Eleanor stared at the headstone, a cold dread washing over her. Cora. Michael's daughter. But he had never, ever mentioned a daughter. Not a single word. Their future was supposed to be a blank canvas, ready to be filled with children of their own. The betrayal wasn't about infidelity. It was about a lie so profound, so fundamental, it had tainted every moment of their shared life. The lie was not just a secret, it was a ghost, a presence that had been with them all along. The perfume, the pillow, it was an act of vengeance, a manifestation of a dark, unresolved grief. But why? Why was a daughter's memory being used to poison her? The question was a poison in itself, and the answer, she knew, would be the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle. The revelation of Cora's existence shattered the last vestiges of Eleanor's world. She confronted Michael that evening, the photograph of Cora and the perfume vial clutched in her hands. He didn't deny it. His face, usually a mask of calm, crumpled with a grief so profound it was almost tangible. The story that spilled out of him was a tragic tapestry of loss and regret. Cora was his first wife's daughter from a previous relationship, a child he had adopted and loved as his own. She was a beautiful, sensitive girl, and like Eleanor, she had a severe, life-threatening perfume allergy. She died years ago, a victim of a cruel prank at a party. Someone had sprayed her with perfume as a joke. It was a tragedy that had haunted him for a decade, a wound that had never healed. The woman in the picture was not his lover, she was his late wife, Cora's mother. The inscription, Our Cora, was a testament to their shared love and loss. Eleanor listened, the pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place, but the motive for the attack remained a chilling mystery. Why had he used Cora's memory, her cause of death, to harm her? His voice, thick with sorrow, explained the motive. It wasn't him. It was his late wife's brother, Ethan. He had been close to Cora, a second father figure, and he had never gotten over her death. He blamed Michael, a silent, irrational anger that had festered over the years. He saw Michael's new marriage as a betrayal of Cora's memory, a replacement for the life he had lost. Ethan had been stalking them, watching their every move. He had found a way into their house, had deliberately sprayed Eleanor's pillow with the same perfume that had killed his niece, a twisted act of vengeance, a way to make Michael relive the tragedy, to show him that he could never escape the past. The deleted messages weren't from a lover, they were from Ethan, taunting Michael, promising to finish what he started. The pharmacy address was where Ethan had bought the perfume, a small detail Michael had found and deleted, a silent battle to protect Eleanor from a man who saw her as a pawn in a larger game of grief and revenge. The truth was a bitter pill to swallow. Eleanor wasn't a victim of a loveless marriage or a cheating husband. She was a victim of a ghost from the past, a pawn in a twisted family drama she never knew existed. The love she and Michael shared was real, but it was built on a foundation of a lie, a secret so vast it had almost consumed them both. The perfume on the pillow was not an act of betrayal from her husband, but a desperate, chilling warning from a man drowning in grief. The aftermath was a blur of police reports, restraining orders, and endless, painful conversations. Ethan was apprehended, his motives a tragic tale of unresolved grief and misplaced anger. Michael and Eleanor's love, once so simple and pure, was now a complicated mosaic of trust, loss, and the ghosts that haunted them. Their home, once a sanctuary, was now a monument to a past they could never truly escape. The silence in the house, once comforting, was now heavy with the weight of unspoken grief. The story of Eleanor and Michael isn't a fairy tale with a perfect ending. It's a somber reminder that the past, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of rising to the surface, and that the people we love may carry burdens we can never truly understand. Sometimes, the greatest dangers aren't from strangers or monsters, but from the silent, invisible wounds carried by the people closest to us. And sometimes, the most beautiful things, like a simple spritz of perfume, can be the most deadly. Their story is a chilling reminder that we can never truly know the secrets that haunt the people we love, and that a single lie, no matter how well-intentioned, can be a poison that spreads, threatening to consume everything in its path. This story, like so many others we explore on Family Secrets Unveiled, serves as a stark warning. The most dangerous secrets are often the ones we keep, the ones we believe will protect us. But they only serve to build a fragile prison, one that is bound to crumble. And when it does, the truth that spills out can be more destructive than any physical violence. If this story resonates with you, if it makes you question the perfect facades we all put up, then you'll understand why we do what we do. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories like this, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter in the labyrinth of human secrets. Until next time, stay vigilant and remember, the truth is always lurking just beneath the surface.